So today I'm going to put up all my little onion seedlings. Now, to be fair, I sowed these guys on Boxing Day and I told you that my plan was to not have to pot them up for as long as possible, because that's a lot of little plants. It's going to take up a lot of space. But given that I'm totally babying these guys and I'm so excited, I've noticed they're starting to just look a tiny little bit poorly, just getting slightly crispy on top. Now here's the thing. All the gardeners know this could be because I'm overwatering them, or I'm underwatering them, or there could just be that all these loads of little plants in these trays have used up what nutrition there was in there, because, you know, that's a lot of plants in a small space. Or it could be anything. It could be it's too cold, too hot, there's all of that stuff. Rather than spend time investigating, I am going to pot these guys up into more soil to make sure they've got the nutrition they need, because it's the babying thing again. So that's what I'm doing today. But I wanted to do this with you guys because last year I learned an awesome trick when I was growing my spring onions to make it easy to separate all these guys out, because look at them, they're tiny, they're delicate. If I try and pull these apart, what's the chances I'm going to snap a few, damage a few, trash them? So here's a cool trick to reduce that, and it is this. Are you ready? Let me move my tea out of the way. I bring tea and I've never got somewhere safe to put it. Right, you go over there where I can still reach you. Oh God. Are you ready for this trick? Ba-ba! Some water, and it goes like this, right? I don't want to pot these guys up into huge big pots yet, but obviously I've got to work with what I've got, so they're going in these. Now, these are not much bigger than a little seed starting module tray. They're just slightly bigger, okay? Because the next one up I've got is that size, which is a bit much for one of these. So I'm just going to wait and see how it goes. Do my best. So, first thing I need to do is stop saying so. So, I have got a batch of potting mix already made up. You guys saw me make my potting mix. I've done a few videos on it now, so I'm not going to tell you about it, but essentially potting mix is much more nutritious than seed starting mix because it's for little plants rather than seeds and tiny seedlings. Now I'm going to work in this little tray here because that potting mix is quite dry. There is a reason for that. I haven't moistened it down yet, it's quite dry. I'm going to use water at the end of this process, so it's in a tray for just now. Now the big thing is getting these guys out, but before I do that, I really need to be more prepared, don't I? Let's be honest, the tea's going to have compost in it by the end of today anyway. Oh, a wee bit of mountain tea. Right. Totally lost track of what I was going to say now. Yes, so I never told you at the beginning. Stop saying so, Eli. You can see I've got two trays here. I sowed 3 types of onions. So this one is Ailsa Craig. These guys were by far the best to germinate. Not surprising given that this is a kind of local Scottish variety. This is sweet Spanish, a white onion. Brilliant. Lots of germination, not as good as Ailsa Craig, but pretty good. You'll notice I've only got 2 trees. That's because the third variety, Red Baron, not a sausage. Well, that's not true. One sausage that has since died. Now, I'm kind of thinking I was a bit cheap. The Red Baron seeds were about a year old and it was a risk. Yeah, onion seeds are notorious for, you basically need fresh seeds each year. No luck, but I'm hoping a friend has got some spares that she can send me. So here's the trick then. I said I need water, and what I'm going to do is take these little guys out in their clumps, and I'm going to use the water to separate all that compost off of the roots so that I don't have to be pulling and tugging. Now, you still have to be quite careful with the whole taking them out thing. So super careful, and don't forget, Eli, shove a label in. So I'm just going to loosen a little bit at a time. I just watered these yesterday and I should have waited, but I didn't know when I'd get the chance to do this. It'd be easier to work with this when it's dry. So here we go. Now I'm not going to force it. Whatever comes out is what I'm going to work with. So there we go. Yeah, so look at that. Those little roots have all been tangled around the bottom there. I'm paranoid you guys can't see what I'm doing, so I'm going to put this up here. Because this tray. So I'm just going to use the water to separate all that compost away as best I can and reduce the amount I'm going to need to pull these guys. See? And would you look at that? That is what your little baby onion seedlings look like. Much easier to separate now. Now this water is tepid water. Okay, it's not cold because I don't want to shock these little guys, so it's tepid water. The problem is my hands are cold. And these guys are coming away beautifully. Lots of little onion seedlings. So I'm going to do just a small batch at a time. I'm just going to make a hole with whichever dibber you have, and I'm going to feed the little seedling into that hole. Okay, so I'm going to do my best to not push too much on the seedling. Okay, like that. Pick a seedling, any seedling. So you can see these guys have got really awesome long roots. They're doing really well. For something that above soil level looks quite pathetic, they're actually doing all right. So here we go, he's in there. Two done. Now, the reason I'm doing this and dipping each one is to make those roots kind of cling together a little bit and just make it easier to put it into the hole so that I don't have to kind of touch it and prod it and mess around with it too much. I'm not going to lie, this has taken me about an hour to do this much. It's delicate, fiddly work because these guys are so tiny. But the one thing you can see then is that I didn't firm any of them in the way I would do normally with a bigger seedling, where I would press them into the soil. Because they're so delicate and I am so clumsy that I didn't want to risk me tearing the roots, snapping the stem, any of that. So what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to, if you like, firm them in, but I'm going to do it using water. Now, you can either do, like, if you've got a wee bottle, you don't need one of these fancy tops, you can just put a wee hole in the lid of a bottle. Or if you've got a watering can, where you've got one of these attachments for the top, so you can direct small amounts of water. Basically, you want to do it gently. You don't want it to just go over the top with a big normal watering can, but you're going to use the water to just settle the plants into the compost. So just around the little plant like that, and just that action of the water running through the compost is what is going to settle the plant and all the little roots and get rid of any of the air pockets and things in there. Linda, your parcel just arrived. And I'm just going to go around and do that for every single one of these. squeezing this little bottle is a forearm workout, I'll tell you that much. Now, if you've got one of these adjustments, you can do it, but again, just be careful because you'll get a bit more water from one of these. And what you want to just be careful is that you're not actually dislodging the little plant. Oh, so that is just one of my little rows of seedlings. I've got a lot of work to be getting on with here, but I hope that helped anyone out there who's a bit worried and has never done this before. Hopefully you're not as clumsy as me and you'll be quicker and it'll be easier than I have. But that's one done. Oh, I've probably got another 20 billion to go. Now, I filmed that at the weekend. It is now Wednesday lunchtime, and let me show you the difference in those seedlings, because it turned out the reason they were going all crispy and discolouring because it was time for the next little leaves to appear, meaning the old ones are starting to die off a little bit, like you see often with seedlings, and potting them on at the weekend has just helped that come on. So have a look at what they look like now. As you can see, there's quite a lot of fallen over, little pathetic looking things here. However, when we go in close, what we can see is it's those first leaves that have fallen over, and there's lots of new growth coming up. So let's go in real close. So look at this, you can see here, second little set of leaves are all coming through. Same on this one, and pretty much it's the same with them all. So what we have is the original leaves are yellowing, going wrinkly at the top and starting to fall over, but there's this new healthy growth coming up. So I'm quite happy with that. It was worth all of that work to get everything potted on. So there you go, time to pot on all your little onion seedlings if you sowed them with me on Boxing Day. And you can let me know in the comments how yours are doing. Did you have that same worry about them getting all discoloured and falling over? Or have you already potted yours on and are you seeing some new growth coming in? The fun of onion seeds. Now quickly then before I go, because as always I've got you. If you're wondering about that video about the potting mix, either pop into the description of the video and there's a link there, or this is it here for you. See you folks!